Call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you do a roll call of the board, please?
Supervisor Milky.
Here.
Treasurer Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Lannon.
Here.
Trustee Lay.
Here.
Trustee Thering.
Here.
And Clerk Cody here. Everybody's here.
All accounted for. Thank you very much. We have quite a light agenda tonight. I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that our manager is out this week. But I'm happy to entertain motions.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion by Cody, support by Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to presentations. And I'd like to invite the new county administrator up if you would like to address the board.
Thank you very much. I'm the new county administrator controller. I've been in the position for 6 weeks now, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you, and I've been going to all the townships and introducing myself as well. You are my 9th township. Sorry, you're not my first, but you're the 9th one that I've been to with the intention of getting out to all of them. And it's been a learning experience going out there, hitting Broomfield Township and Vernon, and all the ones that, you know, are on the outer edges of the county, and just kind of hearing what the boards have to say, hearing what the public has to say. I've been trying to get out there and see what the communities are feeling. I know that's normally the role of the county commissioners, but I think as I'm working on the budget, as I'm working on different things for the county that I've taken for approval of the board, you know, I want to know what the people are thinking and the questions that they have. In no way am I ever speaking on behalf of the county board of commissioners, as we know they're the final decision makers. But I just want to hear what's going on. I'm going out there. I'm not selling anything. I'm not pitching anything. I'm not, you know, and it makes it a lot nicer. It makes it a lot more of a relaxed atmosphere in that I'm not trying to pitch you an idea or anything else like this. I'm just wanting to hear what your questions are, what your thoughts are, and anything else that I can help you with. We've got some, you know, everybody hears what's going on in the county, but we do have some good things going on. We're looking at the recycling center and having a heartland group where we're going to have 8 counties bringing recyclables here to help that grow. We just launched this app, Recycling Coach, which, especially if you got curbside like the township does in the city, it helps you keep track of the delivery days if there's any delays. It also lets you know exactly what you can and can't recycle on there. So there's a few bugs in there that we're working out, but it's something that you can download on your typical phone apps. And so I would recommend doing it. I think it's a great thing to have out there. The jail is about 97, 98% done, just getting those small little things going. We got another construction meeting tomorrow that we're a part of. So a lot of things going on. As we get into the budget process, there'll be more things in the paper, there'll be more things out there. We got to see how the budget closes up in fiscal year 24 that ended September 30th. And then we got to do an evaluation and see where we're at for this year's budget, which the previous board and administrator controller did that zero base. So I want to see where we're at on that, and you know, once everything gets moved around, as you know, the audit, until that's done, it really changes a lot. So I'm open to any questions that you may have. Feel free. You don't have to be nice about it. I trust me, when I was at some of them, boy, some of them, you know, there was like 20 people in the, you know, in the public comment that were asking. So there's probably not a question that I have not heard already. Yes, sir.
I will disclose that we had a chance to meet today in a governmental meeting. So I'm going to repeat some of my questions from today because I think the answers are good.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the MRF. And I brought that up in the meeting today, and there's a slight delay that Chair Engler had spoke to during the meeting. Can you speak to that a little bit?
There's some delays in the original plan that you have to come up with. That's a mandate by the state on how you're going to take care of your recyclables. The policies that were being drawn up by Eagle, there's two issues. One is that they haven't fully developed their own internal policies on how they want this all rolled out. So as a matter of fact, what Isabella and the surrounding counties have found ourselves that we're ahead of the game, and so Eagle has been asking us on different things, and also the funding mechanism, which was supposed to have been an upfront mechanism to help fund some of this, is now turning into a reimbursement, which is causing some issues on that front, and having to fully pay up front and then you get the money back on the backside. It wasn't the way it was supposed to be. So it's causing some internal discussions on how we're going to do some of the projects and how we're going to get this plan rolled out. Come on. I know you guys are dying to ask.
I was also in the meeting with you today, and I would like to know if you want to address what you told us today in the meeting about the status of the building situation.
The building, yes. Right now, previously there were different ideas. They were going to use the bottom two floors for this purpose, leave the third floor vacant as like different cost saving measures. And then they were going to use part of the old jail for storage. And then they were going to use the top two and then the bottom one for storage, not the jail. So there's all these different combination of plans and everything like that. So what I'm working on right now is just saying we got to get everybody on board with what is the final plan, what we're going to do moving forward. Is it all three floors, and then what's the cost going to be? Now, as you know, back in December, we went out for intent to bond, gave a 45-day notice. The board a week later pulled that back because we wanted to give the two new commissioners and myself an opportunity to weigh in on this. The issue that we have is that right now I have 3 people in many offices, sharing offices. It's cramped. There's no, I mean, you literally are just cramped. You've got no privacy. It's not sustainable. It's okay for a year, or it's okay for a year and a half if you know that you've got something else coming up in the future and stuff. So what we're looking at right now is what is the final cost for a rebuild of the building, and also what is our rent going to be? Because I need more space. If we're going to be renting, I need more space, and what's the cost going to be for that? So as we look at it, within so many years, our rent is going to be close, if not at, that bond payment. So like, you know, is it better to just suck it up, take the bond out now once we get the final plan, because we know in 10 years we're going to be paying the same amount of rent and the same amount of bond. And so that is where we got to have those difficult discussions on how we're going to go about it. We know that the public, there's some in the public, I should say, that are not in favor of that. They want the county to get its get everything in order before they go for the bond. And I, you know, it's, you know, I don't blame them. It's their opinions, and I respect it, and we will do what we have to do. But ultimately, the board's going to have to decide: are we going to rent long term, or are we going to build, or, you know, what are our? There's just so many things that we have to work around on how we do that. And, you know, and to, you know, in full disclosure, what's the perception going to be if we look at doing a bond for a building when we don't have road patrol? That's the thing hanging out there, you know, when we're all aware of it. And it's just kind of like, so there's got to be a multifaceted approach and try to build it all up at the same time somehow, some way. I don't know, but I'm still looking for solutions, and we're on the right way on some things. We restructured the board meetings. We discussed that today. You used to have 3 subcommittees on a Tuesday. 2 people on each one, with the chairman being on the finance. And then there would be on the following Tuesday, a work session at 5, and then the regular board at 7. So there's actually 3 meetings going over the same topics. But what you see is that when you have the subcommittees, you got 2 or 3 people getting the information. Other ones could be on YouTube and follow it, but it was felt that let's have all 7. Let's do a finance committee, committee of the whole, so all 7 are here at the same time and can be a part of the same discussion. So I'm really thinking that this is going to greatly enhance the decision-making process, and everybody's included, especially the 2 new commissioners, that there's been a lot going on in the last number of years. And I think it's good that we get the 2 new commissioners on and everybody hears the same information so we could have more lively discussions. So. Yes, sir.
Couple thoughts and a question. Has the county put together any ideas for the townships suggesting ways, since there is no longer road patrol, things we should be thinking about doing, relaying to our citizens? Has the sheriff department put out any sort of helpful hints for townships?
I would have to, I'll be having a meeting and I can ask the sheriff that tomorrow. Again, as you know, in county government, they run their own areas. The county board is the fiduciary for all that, but as far as policies and everything, how it's run, that's pretty much up to the individual elected official. So I don't believe anything is out, but it doesn't mean he hasn't had conversations with certain people. So there may be the conversations going on with different entities and different law enforcement agencies, which I'm sure there is on that front. But as far as the public, I don't know if anything's officially been like put out as a document, but I think there's been a lot of conversations that he's had.
Okay. I just remember listening to citizens talk. There, adult men are saying they have fear in their own house now with lack of road patrol. A lot of emotions were stirred, so maybe if there were some pointers, helpful hints that could come from the department to help the townships. Another thought, just as you were talking, Mr. Smith, that as far as space, and this could be unfeasible too, but the new jail will be opening in February,
Sometime in February, yes.
and the transition will probably be fairly quick, getting the prisoners over. So that opens the jail for a lot of space. I know we've been through it, and the building's not in great shape, but then the new jail's coming, and then there are people talking about, well, we could put a youth program down there, and that kind of struck people, but that will open a lot of space that
There
might be on your radar for getting out of paying rent.
There are offices up front, but it was grandfathered in that it's not ADA compliant in any way. The front offices are not ADA compliant in any way. So as soon as a wall were to be taken down or anything like that, it's going to trigger inspections. It's not going to be in compliance. So there's ADA issues, namely getting into restroom. You would be amazed the size of the restroom. I'm trying to get in there. No way you could get in there, and if you had any physical limitations, you couldn't get in there. So I did look at some of those areas in there. The basement of the jail, there's leaks all over the place. I don't know how much of that could even be usable, to be honest. I think that something had to be done, and people could debate whether that place should have been just completely gutted and redone, or a new building. That was done before I got there, so I'm not opening up that debate. But we have looked at the old jail for different opportunities, and right now it would be a very expensive renovation just to even do those front 8 offices.
I'm sure.
So,
Thanks.
yep.
Thanks. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Usually everybody says when they says congratulations, they kind of have a little laugh behind it. So, but in all honesty, I wouldn't have taken the position if I wasn't optimistic or if I didn't think that there was a future there. I think there is. I think there's a lot of positiveness going on. You got a great board. You got a great bunch of elected officials and the staff there. Some have been there 25, 30 years that care. And I think there's, it's going to be a bumpy road, at least for the first year or two, for sure. But, you know, as long as we can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think that will give the citizens and the employees there some hope for the future. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. We have a formal presentation tonight. Last time, for the members that weren't here, if you didn't watch the last meeting, I encourage you to watch it. But we covered the economic development, building services, et cetera, as well as the finance department. So tonight we have public services and public spaces, and I know I'm using the wrong words for you, but
Oh, you're fine.
the floor is yours.
I'm gonna clear that all up.
Okay, perfect.
Give Jason just a minute. Thanks, Jason.
If I may, just before you start, Mark introduced this, our manager introduced this last time, is basically we have a new board and he wanted us all to be aware of all the different responsibilities and oversight that each department has. And so that's kind of how you're approaching this, I'm assuming. Is that a reasonable introduction?
Yes,
Okay.
that's perfect, thank you. First of all, I'll introduce myself for those of you that I have not met. Kim Smith, I'm the Public Services Director for Union Township. I've worked for Union Township for 29 years, almost 30 years, and in this department, and I'm happy to be here tonight. And I'd also, this is my first meeting since the new board members took office, so I'd like to welcome the new treasurer, Mrs. Rogers, Trustee Lay, and Trustee Lannon.
Thank
It's your, what, third time around, but well, welcome back.
Thank you.
So the Public Services Department, as you can see from the PowerPoint slide, has a broad range of responsibilities here at the township. We are responsible for the operation and maintenance of the township water system, the township wastewater system, parks maintenance, fleet maintenance, department budgets, just our department, so that'd be the water, sewer, parks, capital budgets, the management and the management of the water and the wastewater improvement projects and purchases, private development. The arm that we look at for that is plan review, permitting, construction observation, and inspection for private developments that happen in Union Township. For example, the Valvoline that's going in right now, once they start putting the water main in, we did the review on the water main, we then send it to Eagle, sign off on the permit, Eagle then signs off on a construction permit, and when the construction actually starts on that, our personnel or our contract engineer, depending on what our workload is at that time, with our oversight, would do the construction inspections on that. Street maintenance, and that's we don't actually go out and do maintenance on streets. We work with the road commission on projects that the township is involved in. And mainly it's projects that we have funding involved in. And we meet with them yearly. I attend the they're now monthly road commission meetings to stay abreast of what's going on and to talk to them about issues that we may have. Facilities maintenance, so we take care of the facilities, both the water, sewer, the parks, as well as the township hall. GIS mapping, utility billing happens in our department. The management of our department's grants happens within the department. Management of department information technology, IT, for mainly our department. It does overlap a little bit. Sometimes I, handle things here at the Township Hall that come up as well, maybe in conjunction that's something that's going on within the Water and Sewer Department as well. And then the Township Safety Program. So the department has a team, a great team, of 15 full-time, 1 permanent part-time, and each year we have 4 to 5 seasonals that we hire. And I did a little exercise when I was putting this together. I looked at when everybody began working at the township, and we have a lot of long-term employees in the department. So we have 234 years of combined experience in our department between those individuals that handle all of the things that I just talked about. I'll give you a little breakdown. We're kind of broken down into 3 sections. So we have a department that works mainly, or a branch of the department that works mainly on the collection and distribution system of water and sewer. And these breakdowns have been within the department for a long time. We all work together every day, but we have certain groups that work on certain pieces of it. So for instance, John Bebo, who is our utility foreman, who's been with us a long time, does a great job and has recently given his notice for retirement, which is very well deserved, and he will be dearly missed. He works mainly within the collections, the wastewater collection and the water distribution system. So he works on things like lift stations, they work on fire hydrants. They would be part of the team that you would see out if there was an emergency working on something. So he has people within his department, and they work out of our Mission Road shop, which is located out on Mission, where you can either get onto 127 or go on to old 127 or Mission Road over the viaduct. So we set that location sits right in the middle. Then we have our water treatment. That department is, or that branch of the department is run by Sean McBride. He's our chief water operator. He has 2 water operators under him, as well as seasonal. And Sean has been with us, is a long-term employee, has been with us for many years and does a wonderful job, as well as the other individuals in his department. So they work mainly on water treatment. They work at the water plants. We have 3 water plants, the main plant being the Isabella plant, which is located at the end of Isabella, where you would get on to 127. Then we also have one at Mission. There's a plant that's located there, as well as on Meridian Road next to Allwoods Nursery. So they work mainly there. They do a lot of work at the water towers. But the nice thing is both of the employees that work now as water operators have advanced from positions that were once within John's crew. So they have all of those skills as well. We are very proactive about training employees and making sure they have the education they need and the ability to get state licenses, and also cross-training. So we're very fortunate that a lot of the people that you see, even though they may be working in one position now, have experience in other positions and other duties within the department. And it works well because we do have a relatively small team for the amount of responsibility. And so if you have many people that can wear many hats, they can help each other out, and they all work very well together. The other branch that we have is they work at the wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant superintendent is Mike Deering. Mike has been with the township for many, many years as well. I like to joke that Mike and Sean both started here when they were in high school, but it's not quite that long. But
Close.
It's close. So Mike's responsible for the wastewater treatment plant operations, and he has that works at the plant. He has we have a new position out there, which is the assistant wastewater treatment plant operator, Andy Fussman, who used to be a water treatment plant or a wastewater treatment plant operator, and at one time worked in John's crew as a utility laborer, is now in that position. So again, that cross-training and getting those licenses and advancing within the department worked out, and Andy does a phenomenal job for us as well. And then we have 3 wastewater operators, wastewater treatment plant operators, that also work out there. Long-term employees as well, with the exception of Matt Rabish. Matt Rabish is one of our newer employees, and he came to us just in 2024, and he's phenomenal. Both him and Jacob Plant, who works in John's crew, great hires, gets along well, has a lot of skills from previous positions, has caught on really fast, so we're very fortunate to have such a great crew. And then we also have our GIS works out of our department, which is Joy Smith. She's a permanent part-time employee, and she does our mapping. So a lot of the maps that you see that were generated here at the township, Joy's responsible for those. She maintains that system, and she's very meticulous, does a very nice job. And then we also have Jennifer Loveberry, who is kind of the all-around assistant in the department. She does the utility billing, she helps customers, Jennifer just helps out tremendously with everyone. She helps John, she helps Sean, she helps me, Mike, whatever needs to be done. So Jennifer used to work here at the Township Hall, so many of you know her, and has worked in our department for several years now. So that's kind of a roundabout of our crew. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to work with this group of people, and because we have such a great group of people, we're able to get a lot of things accomplished that need to be done every day. So now I'll just kind of narrow in on a few of the things I talked about in the first slide. So the first is our safe, reliable, clean drinking water. Oops, sorry. That we are required to provide to our citizens, our customers. So the water department, or the water system, is regulated by the Safe Drinking Water Act, EGLE and the EPA, and 10 state standards. So we're required to follow all the rules and requirements that fall under those regulations, and there is a lot of them, and they change continuously. Our water treatment, as I mentioned before, we have 3 plants, the Isabella plant, the Meridian plant, and the Mission Road plant. And between those 3 locations, we have 7 water wells, and we're currently in the process of drilling another one. So then our water distribution system, just a little bit of information on that. We have 63 miles of water mains, 744 fire hydrants, 3 elevated water storage towers, 1 ground storage tank, and 1 booster pump station. And in FY 2025, we have an $8.8 million water budget. Now that is a little higher than it normally is, because as many of you are aware, we did receive a grant, so some of the grant funding is included in that, but I didn't break that all out. But so that's what we're operating under in 2025. So then the next, let me replace my slide. So next we have the wastewater treatment. I'd read off the map, but I can't read that far without my other glasses, and then I can't read up here, sorry. So the wastewater treatment plant, or the wastewater, is regulated by an NPDES permit. So that stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. The township has 2 of those. We have, which is unusual. The reason that the township has 2 is because our wastewater treatment plant is located in the confines of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Reservation, so we are required to have an additional permit, which is the EPA permit. So we have to, and really you have to follow both, but we do have actual permits for each. And although they're very similar, there are a few differences that we have to pay attention to and make sure that we're following all of those. We also are regulated, as with the water system, under the Safe Drinking Water Act and 10 state standards. So our wastewater treatment, we have the plant that we have, it's on River Road, next to Dellfield, between Dellfield and the overpass. And it's a 2.4 MGD wastewater treatment plant. That's what we are licensed for. And it also houses a state of Michigan certified lab. We're required to have a certified lab to run the samples from the plant. We also do some of our own water samples out there, but we don't take in water samples, we just do our own because that's what we're certified for. And then our wastewater collection system, which is throughout the township, we have 19 lift stations, 52 miles of sanitary sewer main, and 971 manholes that we're responsible for maintaining. And our FY 2025 budget is $5.2 million. So then next we'll talk about our parks maintenance. So our parks maintenance consists of ball field preparation and maintenance, and that's for the Union Township Little League, softball, Pony League, and then various tournaments throughout the summer. We also take care of Jamison Hall maintenance and cleaning, general grounds maintenance and repairs, management of the park's capital projects and purchases, and the FY 2025 budget for the parks is $131,000. And just a side note on that, when you look at our chart, there isn't anybody, our employee chart, there isn't really anybody on there that shows that it's dedicated to parks. How we operate the parks in the summer is one of our gentlemen from Danny Koffel, who works in utilities in the winter. In the summer, he goes out to the parks. He does a great job. The leagues really like Dan. He's really good with communicating with them, and he does a great job with maintaining the ball fields and the facilities. And then we also hire seasonal. This is where several of our seasonal work every year to help out with those. So we only really have one part-time person out there and then our seasonal. So then next we'll talk about street maintenance. And as I said, this is in conjunction with the Isabella County Road Commission for road improvements that are located in Union Township. I regularly attend the road commission meetings. Some of the projects that are done every year by the board are approved by the board. You'll be seeing these in the very near future because a lot of these, the road commission bids out their work in February, and then after that comes in, then we'll start coordinating to get those things on our agenda here so you guys can consider them and approve them. The annual brine application program, the gravel road program, road improvement projects that are township funded. Some examples of those were Broomfield Road. The township was very active with the Broomfield Road project, and between the EDA and the general fund paid for a large portion of that. One that's coming up is Meridian Road. We've got some 2%. We've allocated money towards that, so that will be happening this year. And then the establishment of road improvement special assessment districts. We've had several of those in the last several years. Those are districts that are mainly located within subdivisions in the township that want to do some kind of improvement to the roads. So we do the establishment of those special assessment districts, and then the road commission does the actual construction. So then this is just a slide that briefly goes over just some facts on the department. I'll have to look at my paper again. That one's a little bit smaller. So we are compliant with Eagle and EPA wastewater NPDES permit. We have no violations and are compliant with the regulations that we're required to. And we address issues that come up and changes with the Safe Drinking Water Act as they occur. One of those that we're working on right now is like the lead service program. That is a rather new regulation under the Safe Drinking Water Act, and with a lot of changes in that. and we're actively working on keeping that program up and meeting the deadlines of that program. We're also compliant with 10 state standards. That's part of what we do when we take a look at plans from developers, our own projects, as well as when we do inspections, making sure that those are built the way they're supposed to be built within 10 state standards and within regulations. And then we're also compliant with the EPA and Eagle's lead and copper rules, which are not the same. Eagle came out with their rules, then a few years later, EPA came out with their rules, which supersede Eagle's. So there are some differences, so you have to be compliant with both. And then with our water and wastewater systems, we are required to have personnel who have licenses. Right now, we are required to have an S2 and a D2 license. S is a distribution license, and D is a treatment license. I know that sounds backwards, but that's the way it is. And we currently have individuals within the department that hold those licenses, and in a lot of cases, we have more than one. So we have backups for those, and people who are trained up to those licenses or beyond. So the township is sitting in a good position with that. And then wastewater, we are required to have a B license. So Mike Deering, our superintendent, he actually has an A license, so he is one above. And then Andy Fussman has a B license. So in the case that something Mike would have to be off for an extended amount of time, Andy would be able to, as the assistant, step into that role. Or even if Mike's on vacation, you're supposed to have a B license available. So Andy fills that role as well. And then there's other there's other employees at the wastewater plant that also have licenses. They're not B's or A's, but they're lower licenses, and they're working towards, some of them are working towards even getting higher licenses. So that's really great. And then we have a asset management program, and that's a computer software program. It's PubWorks, and we are required to have an asset management program, which retains all of our records for the department, all of our assets, ages, the criticality of the asset, and we do a yearly reporting to Eagle on that. I'm actually working on that right now for the wastewater system. It's due by the end of the month, and I'll have that in hopefully by Friday. And then we also we maintain and utilize the township's GIS system. I spoke about that a little bit earlier. Joy manages that for us, or keeps that up to date. And that includes aerial photography, parcels, streets, water and sewer assets, EDA assets, and the park assets. And it's integrated. We have integrated that with our asset management program and the water and sewer as-built drawings. And we actually, a few years ago, purchased a mobile portion of that program. It's actually part of our asset management program, but the guys have the ability to bring up like our maps on tablets when they go out into the field. So if they're doing a misdig, locating facilities, they have a tablet that will show them through our GIS system the approximate location. I mean, obviously you can see a fire hydrant, but you can't see a sewer main in the ground. You can see manholes. So it's very helpful, and they can also do a lot of that work, a lot of work orders and things right in the field. They can bring those up and see that and close them out, and so that comes in really handy. So we also do utility billing. So our yearly utility billing amount for 2024 was $4.9 million, and that's water and sewer combined. We had a yearly water usage of approximately 384,000 million gallons of water. Wastewater, 456 million gallons of water, and then our water and sewer plan review, approval, and permitting for private development projects. That's all in compliance with all Eagle, EPA, 10 state standards. Before we are able to send those into Eagle for approval, that's where those go ultimately. We review them and make sure they're in compliance so that the ultimate goal is to get a permit so that those facilities can be built and development can be completed. And then we also do the township safety program, safety training, and accident reporting within the department. So that's a brief overview. And just, if you'll indulge me just a couple minutes, as you are aware, we have a large grant that we're currently working on. I'll just give you a really brief update on that. Right now, things are a little quiet. As you know, all of the different divisions have been awarded, and the water main division, first of all, the well was drilled, and we are now awaiting, the report has been submitted. After the well is drilled, you're required to do a report that's submitted to Eagle. That has been submitted, and there will be an inspection of that next week in conjunction with a pre-con we're having for another division, because he's going to be here, so he's going to do both in one day. So that project, once that is complete, then we can go to the next step, which is the actual putting the well into production, putting the equipment down, getting the pump, and getting that well into production. We also had the water main portion that was awarded, and that started at the first part of December. They made great progress through December. A lot of the water main along from the new well, which is located behind the underground party store, if everybody knows where that's at, on some property that we own, over to our Mission Road site, and then ultimately down 127 to the Isabella site. They are down Deerfield Road. There is a connection that still needs to be made on Deerfield Road. They've gone underneath Mission Road, underneath the railroad, onto our site, which is the shop at Mission. That work has been completed, and they made great progress on 127. They have a small portion to still put in along 127, and then the 16-inch bore under 127, and then they'll be onto the township's property, which is the Isabella treatment plant, and then that will be installed, and ultimately that will be tied into the treatment plant. So they made great progress on that portion. Right now they're shut down, we think, for the winter unless we get a really nice break in the weather. And then the other piece of that project is Somerton Road, and that won't start until spring. That's going to be a tricky project because of everything in the right-of-way, and so that they're going to wait and start on that. We needed this other portion done first because once we get that well in production, then we can get that all tied in and get the plant. You know, that all has to happen together. And then the next portion is the lead service line identification, which is a requirement under the lead and copper rules. We will be having a pre-con within the next couple of weeks for that. It was awarded, but you won't see that work starting until spring. And then next week, Tuesday, we are having the pre-con for the water treatment plant upgrade construction project. And once that is completed, they've already started submitting shop drawings, and we're going through those approvals. But once the pre-con is completed, we'll give them a notice to proceed, and they'll start ordering equipment. I'll have a better schedule after that meeting is held, but we'll start seeing some work happening out there. So we're on track with all of our divisions. We still have our deadline date is within sights, and right now, barring any difficulties, we're on track to meet that. So, and we're thankfully still on budget. So, and then just another note, I know in the past many of you have gone on our tours that we do, and we will be doing one of those. We're going to wait till the weather gets a little bit nicer. We also thought it'd be nice if we waited until there was maybe some construction going on at the water treatment plant that you guys could see and kind of talk about that. And so we will be doing a facilities tour when it gets a little warmer. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or at any time if you do. And if you would like to see something before we get a chance to go on a tour, we are always very happy to have anybody, let us know. We can give you a tour, we can show you something specific. As you know, the staff, the Public Services Department staff is very proud of our facilities. We are very thankful that we have a supportive board that gives us the tools and the things we need to do our jobs, and we are happy to share it with anybody that wants to see it. We do a lot of tours for outside of the township too, so it works out great. So,
Question.
sure.
What's the real benefits that you see for drilling a new well? What's that going to do for the township?
It's a capacity issue. It will help us with capacity, especially if you have to meet a thing called your maximum capacity or high demand. So you have to be able to take your highest well out of service and still meet your demand and your fire protection needs. So the well will give us the additional capacity along with what we're doing at the water treatment plant, because not only do you have to get it out of the ground, but you also have to treat it before you send it out to system. So it's a capacity issue.
Okay. Is that because of just increased demand, or other wells are not producing how they may have in the past?
No, it's mainly an increase in demand. For instance, in the summer when we're sprinkling,
Mhm.
or when our customers are sprinkling, our demand doubles. So our peak demand is based on that sprinkling in the summer, and we have to be able to meet that 24/7, 365 days a year with our largest well out of capacity. So it gives us more redundancy, more capacity, and if we do have, God forbid, a large fire, I'm not saying we would, we could meet what they had like in California, but it gives us the ability to get the fire demand. And the other thing it does is when developments come in, one of the things that's looked at, and Tim, I know you're very aware of this because you're part of the fire department, but is the fire demands that new development is going to put on your system, and you have to have the capacity and the flows to be able to accommodate that, so it will help with that as well.
And what's the name of that well?
It's well 12. We don't name those. The Eagle gives us those numbers. It's kind of weird because we'll have 8 wells, but because we've had some wells that we've re-drilled, those numbers are not reused, they're just retired. So this is well 12.
Great, thanks.
So I'm glad I don't have your job, because I'd be ready for vacation, I think. What can you just explain, you repeated the term 10 state standards quite a bit. What is that?
Sure, so those are the standards that, there's 10 states in in this region that abide by those, and those are mainly construction standards, as well as standards for instance what kind of valves you need to use. So it's not only how you construct things, but what you construct with. So 10 state standards handles those.
It's helpful. So because I had never, or at least I don't remember hearing it before. The license requirements that you went through, and I know the administration's been working on cross-training and bringing other people up with the same licenses for lots of various reasons. You spoke to some of those. But the license requirements, I think some that you listed were like wastewater, B license required.
Mm-hmm.
Is that based on population, or do some communities have a C license requirement and an A license requirement?
Well, in the instance of wastewater, that's the wastewater treatment plant license. That is based on the 2.4 MGD, so it's what your plant is rated at. So we're a 2.4, so we're required to have a B license. There's a range.
So it is based on some metric then?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the water licenses are based on the size of your system and the treatment you do. So that's where those come from. And those are all called out in the Safe Drinking Water Act. Any other questions?
If you're not anxious to go on the tour, if you haven't been on it before, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because
fun.
I think our township's biggest assets are these assets that are under your purview.
Right.
I mean, this is what we see as board members, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you,
like I said,
impressive, thank you.
yeah,
Thank
anytime
you.
anybody has any questions or would like to see something, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't want you to feel like you need to stay here. Now, and I'm not kicking you out, but I know you got a busy schedule.
Oh, no.
Okay, I won't be offended if you decide it's time to go get some rest for tomorrow. Okay. Let's see, that brings us to item 7 on the agenda, public comment. Public comments restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. Note, if you choose to address the public for any reason, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we'll open up public comment at 7:50 PM.
There's nobody online.
Let the record show nobody's online. Seeing no one in person coming forward. I don't hear the front door. So with that, we'll close public comment at 7:50 PM. Let's see, that takes us to reports, board comments. So, I thought we'd start with policy governance liaison appointments and discussion. I hope you've all thought about that. Am I shocking anyone?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
But what we did temporarily, at least, Trustee Thering retained his position on the Planning Commission. We didn't want that to subside. Obviously, I'm open to any discussions that people have. I need to check my notes. There are a number of appointments per our policy governance that we should make. Some are during the day, which makes it difficult for some of us. Many are in the evenings. I don't know how you all want to do this. If you have suggestions, I'm open to it. And if you'd just like to go
Free
around and
flow?
say items that you're interested in.
That seems like a good.
Do we have a list of them?
I can read those off. They are in our policy governance, but I took some notes. Intergovernmental, that one meets typically quarterly. That was the one I referred to earlier, and got to see our county administrator, controller there. So that meets usually at 9 a.m. It is often, since COVID, it's been a remote Zoom type meeting. I wish we were in person again.
Right.
You too? Okay, good. So that may change in the future, we'll see. But that certainly, if work requirements don't allow, it's at 9 a.m., roughly quarterly. And typically, as supervisor, I've gone and we've usually had one other person join in on that. There's the EDA, of which we appointed myself, and there are reasons they want the supervisor on that board. So that kind of becomes mine. Board of Review also statutorily, I have to be in Board of Review, although I'm not a voting member. I'm secretary, so I get to, yeah. Sometimes I want to chime in, but I don't get to. The Election Commission, feel free to jump in if you'd like. I believe there's 2 seats there. Typically, we want to see, if possible, at least one person from each major party. And you meet, basically depends on the election schedule, right?
Yeah.
Would you articulate what the demands are for that again? Requirements? How often?
Like twice before each election. We're gonna have one in May, so probably meet March or April. Go over the list of inspectors, make sure it's balanced between both parties. Everybody's trained. Then we have to go over the equipment, check and make sure everything's up and running properly, everything's written on the ballot correctly, all the spelling's correct, the dates, stuff like that.
And that
And
can
that
happen,
is normally the month before.
and it's often during the day, correct?
Most of the time it's during the day.
And then, County Commission, County Commission's meeting the second Tuesday, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one, I didn't mean to. Isabella County Road Commission, which is the second Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m., and then they have occasional meetings that are on other days. But generally, those are 9 a.m. meetings. And as Director Smith mentioned, you're often there representing the township as well. County Commission, when does county meet? Second and
fourth Tuesday.
and it's now at 5. And it's the one meeting as opposed to the way it used to be. City Commission, I believe that's the first and third or second and fourth?
Second and fourth.
Second and fourth Monday at 7 p.m.
Yep.
We, per our policy governance, we have MMDC. Currently, we have our manager appointed to the MMDC. If we choose to, we could certainly change that. And then there's the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe liaison role. And that often has daily requirements. There is interaction with the tribe through the intergovernmental. This is more of a I hate to say, it's not one-on-one. It is, the biggest requirements are going to the roundtables, listening to the tribe, what their interests are, being able to communicate what our community needs, and looking at ways in which we work with each other. Obviously, I think I've spoken about the distribution days when they actually distribute the 2%. It's a phenomenal experience. Always proud to go, and that's usually twice a year. So that's a lower demand board as far as like a monthly or bi-monthly schedule. And I don't think I missed any. Does that help? So if we start with an easy one, how do I kick us off? We start with an easy one, Election Commission. I think that's fairly easy. Would you be willing to? Because as a Republican, that's helpful. You fill that role. And then we would need a Democrat, correct? That's the ideal situation. And that one sometimes is daytime. Is there someone that has interest in that?
I do.
I just say I can't because of
Oh.
work schedule.
Yeah.
You do.
I do.
Anybody
I would
else?
like,
Sorry?
go ahead. I mean, daytime is a tougher one for me, for sure. But throwing that out there, I'd also like to keep Mount Pleasant City Commission, my nighttime one.
Yeah, this is one of the lower demand boards I think might not count against that kind of thing. We have enough to go around, I think.
I mean, when it comes to like the meeting where we approve the agenda, I kind of shoot out a mass text saying, can you meet at this time? Or I'll make it 15 minutes before a board meeting because it doesn't take that long. Or, but as far as the public accuracy testing, I don't have a choice in that. They tell me what day they're coming and time, and it's normally 2 weeks before, sometimes a week before. So but as long as one of the two of you, I have to be there.
Right.
So as long as one of the two of the people can be there, I'm okay.
Weeks.
We're okay.
And
Week's notice
And-
shouldn't be a problem.
Yep.
It shouldn't
Yeah.
be a problem.
The other thing our clerk has done in those cases is if you know someone can't make it,
You can,
is we try to fill it with someone else just to
Right.
get 2 people there.
Yep. Okay.
I should be able to. Unless someone else is free during the day and absolutely wants to do it.
I'll be your alternate if you can't make it, though.
Well, we can sew this one up and put this one behind us if
yeah,
you'd like.
this one, we're gonna have to, you gotta be sworn in for this one, so I'll
Okay.
swear you in after the meeting if that's okay.
Yep.
Would
Sure.
someone like to make a formal motion on this then?
Don't make me-
I'm not gonna make the motion.
I would make a motion, and I'll do it one person in this motion,
Okay.
to nominate Treasurer Lori Rogers to be appointed to the election committee
I
for
support.
the year 2025.
We have a motion by Lannon, support by Lay. Any other discussion? Yes.
Do it for the 4-year term, if you can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Would you be willing to amend that? You okay with that amendment?
Or
Yes.
for the term.
Yes.
I guess
it
I'm
needs
just
to change.
interested in why that's important to you.
Do you swear them in every year?
Because you have to swear 'em in every year.
that stuff.
We have random, I don't know.
If someone
It's
wants to-
always
And-
been that way, so that's just the way we do it.
And
It's not a legal thing, it's just,
Right. In the meantime, if someone.
that way, if not, we're gonna have to go back and do it again, but
Right.
it,
Right.
And the
It was
other-
just traditionally we did these boards annually, I thought.
this one's different.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I think we did annually. I can't remember.
Sure.
And-
So I'd
and-
amend
And
it
at any
for-
time, we need to make adjustments on
Yeah,
any of these
absolutely.
offices. We
For
obviously
their-
have that latitude. This is our own appointment, so we have control over that.
Yeah.
Right. But sure, I would amend that motion for the
The remainder of
through-
their term?
It'd be through
Through their term.
November 20th of 28, I guess.
I support the amendment.
Okay. So, discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of appointing Treasurer Rogers to the Election Commission during her term, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I nominate Jeff Brown to be on the election committee for his term.
Supported.
Motion by Rogers, support by Lay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion for appointing Trustee Brown to the Election Commission for his term, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you both.
Okay.
That was one of
One
the
down.
easier ones, I think. Right, one down. I'm really open to approaching this any way
You just want
anybody
to go down the
wants
list?
Yeah.
Um,
Do that.
I will re-enumerate them. PC, EDA, board, well, I can't do, Board of Review doesn't make sense. PC, EDA, Intergovernmental, County Road Commission, County, City, MMDC, SCIT, Tribe. How about we look at, going after some of the heavier ones, then we can fill in some of the lighter ones.
Okay.
Heavier ones being, County Road Commission, County Commission, City, Planning Commission.
I
I'll
enjoy
take county.
I'm happy to continue on with the planning commission. Is there anybody though that has an interest in sitting on the planning commission? It wouldn't be fair for me to continue on if there was somebody else.
Oh,
I do, but
loved it,
I do,
too.
but I
I'm
can't.
not excluding you.
I really did.
Yeah.
I'm-
Nope.
Lisa?
Does he need to
Oh,
be
I don't want to
nominated?
do it.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I'm too busy. I'm sorry. But I
Miranda?
did like it when I was on it.
Jen.
I would suggest just running through the list, and anybody who's interested at all on planning commission, just get a check, and then go on and on and on and on, and see how it lays out.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
And then that kind of gives us an idea where people's interests
Okay,
are.
that's a good idea. Thank you. So, anybody besides James have interest in the Planning Commission? This is probably the heaviest lift board, to be honest.
It is.
Okay. Let's look at,
So does there need to be a motion made then, or?
You
we-
were-
let's just
We
kind of run
already did
through,
that
we
one.
Oh,
want
I
to make
see.
sure we're covering
I
stuff,
see.
so.
I
How
see.
about, Isabella County Road Commission?
I cannot because of the,
Yeah.
It's the
I-
day and
I
time I
have-
can't either.
I have interest, and my schedule often allows for it, but I can't.
I could do it because I have the flexibility of self-employment. So, I mean, I'll put myself out there.
And it was just one person per,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're not able to make it, and you can reach out to the board
Yeah.
member, take your place, it
Yep.
helps. But we do have
That'd be your
staff that
backup.
also goes
Mhm.
there
I'll be your
too.
backup.
Okay.
Yep, I could be your backup.
Anybody else? We have County Commission. I saw two hands, right? Tim and Lori. I'm sorry. Trustee Land and Treasurer Rogers.
Are we supposed to just have one person though, aren't we?
Yeah, just kind of getting
Sure,
where
that's fine.
people's interests are.
Yep, that's fine.
City Commission?
There once a month also?
I saw Jeff. Anybody else?
think they're twice a month.
Okay.
We have the lighter boards. I guess, let's go through those now. Those are the heavier lift boards right there that we have. Intergovernmental,
I really enjoyed that today. That was a lot of fun.
so I'm putting your initials down there.
Yes, please.
It's like raising your hand, you know.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay. Trying to make sure I'm not skipping something here. MMDC, I'll just bring that up again. We have appointed our manager stool dryer to that. Anybody feel a need for changes there?
I do not.
So we're okay with leaving that alone?
Yep.
Okay. Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe.
When do they meet?
It's in the spring and fall. Usually they, the roundtables happen, is it like a month before, about a month before distribution. So it's in the spring and the fall. That's usually for 2 to 3 hours in the morning. It's a great experience. You get to meet people from all over the county. Very often staff is there. Rodney's been there several times. Director Smith has been there several times. Does that answer your question?
And it's you and somebody else? Is that the
Traditionally
one?
has been. Doesn't have to be. It can be anybody. In the past, Trustee Worley, Norm Worley, was the liaison for that when he was a trustee. I have a passion for that one.
I can do that one.
You can do that one?
Yeah, as long as there's enough time where I could take it off. Like 2 weeks ahead of time, would you know when it is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then.
We
I
have
would
that
do
heads
that.
up.
We have the dates right now.
And,
Oh, do you? Okay.
and if this board's okay with it, it's actually good to have more than one person there. In the past, we tried to get 2, but didn't always work. Because that just allows more communication from the township with the tribe when we go through those roundtable discussions. Other people have interest in that?
Yeah.
And then, I'm just checking my notes, my apologies. Okay, so let's take the ones where we don't have conflicts to a certain degree. I'm just looking. County Commission was the one that I think we had the Treasurer Rogers and Trustee Lannon both wanted it. That seemed like the
Well-
one conflict.
Then Tim can do it, that's fine. The trustee Landon can do it, that's fine. Yeah, yeah,
I'm fine with it.
okay.
Yeah.
You've raised your hand.
But I just expressed interest.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
fine.
saying
No,
that
no,
I
no,
need
no,
to.
no, that's fine, yeah, yeah.
You've expressed interest in several. I'm looking for, if you're not county, do you have a spot otherwise? So is road commission maybe something you would enjoy?
Yes.
Okay. I will relinquish road control.
Oh.
I did like.
And if you're okay, I may tag along when I'm able to and just. but
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be fascinating, I would think.
So I don't think we really have conflicts at this point. So I'll run through what I have. For Planning Commission, Trustee Therian, Road Commission, Treasurer Rogers, County Commission, Trustee Lannon, City, Trustee Brown, Intergovernmental, myself, and Trustee Lay, Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, potential for 3, which I don't think is bad at all, if this board's okay with that, which would be myself, Cody, and Trustee Lay.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Very good.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds like a plan?
Yeah.
So,
And then the election
Election
committee.
committee.
Yeah,
correct. I figured that is settled.
yeah.
got a bow on it.
Technically, we've settled planning commission because we've made the appointment. We don't have to do
Yeah.
anything there. This was just an opportunity to change that if we wanted to.
Cool.
I don't think we have to make a motion for the rest of them, do we? They're all. We just say it, right?
Okay, I'm okay with that if
I
this
think
board
that's
is.
how we did it
So,
before. It's just the fun.
If you read through our policy governance, the original policy governance that I saw, there was what's called a meeting stipend or a meeting pay, right? That, back in the day, was for any meeting that any board of trustee member went to. And what that encouraged was, I'm going to a meeting just to
Yeah.
get paid, right? Which is not the intent. The
No.
intent of this policy is to ensure that we're communicating with the other municipalities and you're being compensated fairly. And very often, you know, you're covering your gas and some of your time away from work, et cetera, et cetera. And so, part of the reason for the appointment was so that you feel a responsibility to go, right? This is your assignment, and you're being compensated to do that.
Yep.
Right, okay. So, can I just say it then? We're leaving planning commission alone. County road commission? County commission?
We can
City.
say it out loud instead of pointing so people actually know
Yes,
who it
okay,
is.
my apologies. I'll repeat it again. Let me know if there's
Sorry.
objections, otherwise that's what it's gonna be. So, planning commission, we're leaving alone, trustee Thering, county road commission, treasurer Rogers, county commission, trustee Lannon, city, trustee Brown, intergovernmental, myself and trustee Lay, and then Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, myself, clerk Cody, and trustee Lay.
Yes.
Perfect. I think we covered all the bases. We did.
All right.
I appreciate your help because I wasn't sure how we were going to do this. If there are no objections, we'll move on. We have, I had planned, and I'd done some work, like in planning commission, we have some applications in our packet, and then I realized late in the afternoon that we have another meeting before those appointments need to be made. And traditionally, the previous board has taken the approach that we're going to leave application process open as long as we can. So while we have applications, once I realized that none of those meetings happen until after or well after our next meeting, I didn't see any reason to take any action yet tonight.
Certainly. Yeah.
But we do have a new opening on the EDA. EDA met yesterday. Wow, it seems like a week ago. EDA met yesterday. Rick Bars is in our packet, one of the current members who has reapplied. Jeff Sweet, who's served on that for some time, is going to be stepping back. His term is up in February. He has a great excuse. Daughter's getting to an age where they're very involved in sports and he doesn't want to miss it.
Right.
Because I really appreciated his input and perspective on things. So I want to thank him for his service to the public. But we do have that open spot. Now, EDA, if you're not familiar with it, does have some special requirements to it. Ideally, you are either a business owner or resident within either our east or west EDA, and there is an exception to that. Do you know how we are with that exception?
We are currently in compliance. So, Jeff is not a resident or, well, he's actually, I'm sorry, he is a business owner or officer, so, in the West EDA. So we really would like to have somebody that keeps that element, either
Right.
resident or business owner.
So that's always been the tough part with EDA. I think we can have one member, right, that is
Right,
at large.
It's
from the
essentially
public.
a large majority has to be. I think it's actually more than one. But,
More than one?
But it has to be the large majority have to be within those criteria.
So if you know people that live in our excuse me, in our east or west DAs that might want to serve. I just learned this yesterday, so I haven't really thought much about maybe who to start approaching. So that's the seat we need to fill. And I think we're good.
We need to fill the at-large seat or the one that owns something?
This would be somebody that owns, either is a business owner or officer, or is a resident in our
Okay.
DDA districts.
Okay.
And good thing we expanded the east DDA. Just
Yeah.
Yes.
we have some more residents there now. All right, moving on, our January monthly activity reports in your packet. Anything on that? And with that, that brings us to our Plan Commission, EDA, and ZBA updates. Look at you right here today.
That's right.
The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, before I speak about those two things, I will just share, because Mark was very kind and shared for myself and for Sherry Teal in our reports, I will just share that Kim Smith, Director Smith, is a very valuable part of our Township executive team. And I have appreciated her support as I came into the township, and very much enjoyed working with her as part of this executive team, along with Mark Stuhldreher and Sherry Teal. So I want to share that and thank her. In terms of our meetings, we did not have a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We don't currently have any applications, don't really seem to have anything on the horizon at the moment for applications for the Board of Appeals, which is a good thing, actually. The fewer times the Board of Appeals meet, that generally means that things are working well for the zoning ordinance. Our Economic Development Authority Board did meet yesterday. They just had their regular business items, mainly financials. Due to a problem with the quorum, they didn't meet in December, so they were approving financials both for the previous month and the current month. Checks were sent per our policy for that period, but they still need to take the approval action. We did talk about, we did have one street light that was hit last month over on Pickard Road near Doug's Small Engine Repair. It was taken out by an unlicensed driver. As I mentioned, the EDA board meeting, there were actually two different accidents, both unlicensed drivers, that affected East EDA. The other one affected one of our business owners who had some fencing removed along Broadway with a different driver. So that light is down. We're already in the process of getting a replacement on order. Unfortunately, the way the driver hit it, it actually disrupted the foundation. The foundation, the bolts and such are breakaway. They normally should simply break away, allow the foundation to remain in place. This one, it was simply somebody about the direction. They did not do that, and so we will actually have to replace the foundation as well for that one. The Planning Commission also met yesterday evening. They had one item on their agenda, and that was a preliminary site plan for the new Thrive Community Church facility that is proposed on Bud Street. This is right next door to Jameson Park. There's a long 10-acre parcel there to the north of Jameson Park, and they're proposing a 28,000 square foot church facility there. So this was the first look at it. It's a very nice, very modern looking facility, but I think it's going to be a very nice additional asset in that area of the township. The Planning Commission, there were a number of details that need to be addressed. More housekeeping items than usual for our Planning Commission, so that engendered a good bit of discussion. These were all items that can be taken care of on a final site plan, and ultimately the Planning Commission did choose to approve the preliminary site plan, and so we'll be looking forward to seeing the final plans. At this point in our site plan process, they will be going to all the outside agencies, including our Public Services Department, the Road Commission, and also our Township Engineer for Stormwater Management permit, taking care of all those outside agency permits, and then coming back to us with the final site plan prior to construction. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that. That was all the items on my report for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
No, no questions from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board member reports.
I wouldn't-
Now that we just got liaison appointments, but I know Trustee Lanning went to MTA. I don't know if you have something to report on.
Yeah, I do. So I did attend the Isabella County chapter of MTA meeting last Wednesday, I think it was, out in Leeton. There was representation of 10 out of the 16 townships there. I don't know if you're all familiar with the county MTA group, but they meet quarterly. And it can be confused a little bit with the Isabella County Council of Governance, because it's the same group of people that meet every month that the MTA isn't meeting. And so I attended that. Introductions of all the folks that were there went on. It's a terrific opportunity to network with county officials, with township officials throughout the county. And the speakers there, the official speaker is here in the audience tonight. Brian Smith. And at the time, he was a little surprised to see his name in ink on the agenda as the speaker. But also a couple other commissioners from the county spoke. And that included Frank Engler, the chair. And one thing that he mentioned was how the regular meeting is going to a 5 o'clock meeting, which includes the financial committee meeting, which is a requirement, I believe, of the county, and then a meeting of the whole. So all the department heads can be together and more informed as a group. Commissioner Jalazinski spoke a little bit. He did speak of the recycling center and the relationship that they've recently gotten involved with a partnering with a group called Recycle Coach. And if anybody is interested, their website is www.recyclecoach.com. And it's a group out of Canada, actually, and they partnered with them to help them help us citizens understand recycling. Part of the thrust was they realized, like, in the past year they've gotten 50,000 pounds of what's called residuals or trash, just stuff people. And so it's an effort to try and educate the citizens what can and can't be put in as part of the reason for the partnership, but just a host to make citizens better recyclers. And then the administrator and controller, Mr. Smith, spoke, and he had indicated how he was going to all the townships in person to listen to what's on their minds. And at that time, he had been to 8 of the 16, but now he's at 9. He also mentioned that they're working through budgeting processes, trying to understand that more fully. Looking towards efficiencies in operations at the county, and indicated that they're looking at their county plan, a 10-year plan, probably a 5-year and a 2-year plan as well, I would assume. And then there was group discussion amongst the attendees there that questioned the county folks, what the county priorities are. Topics that came out there is discussion on the county building renovation, renting, which we heard a little bit about tonight, county road patrol, and what sheriff office location requirements may be. And so the next meeting, not of the MTA, which will be next April, but in February is the Council of Governance meetings. Those take place on the third Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and it takes place at the Commission on Aging building.
This time, a lot of times it rotates, right?
Well, it typically was at the county building in the past.
Oh, last one I was at was in a different township.
But they do on occasion.
On occasion,
They
okay.
do.
Thank you.
Yep. And that was about that, but as a board, that is an identified meeting that all of us are encouraged to go to. The Council of Governance and the MTAs, just if you're not aware.
I just heard about it a couple days ago.
Yeah,
I never heard of
the
it.
manager sent a note to all of us identifying that. And
For the new board members, you should be getting communication to your township email about those meetings too.
Yes.
Okay. Because if you're not, then we need to make sure you're on the list.
Oh, I did, I got the only thing from Mark, not from.
Okay,
no.
you
Yeah.
should start seeing,
Okay.
I'm assuming this next month, notices about that meeting.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll just mention, I'm not too in tune to it, but looking at the treasurer's report, it indicates that Union Township is one of about 3 of the townships who have not paid their dues for the past previous years.
Did they send us a
So-
bill?
I don't, like I say, I don't know
I think we
really
get a
much
bill, it gets
about
paid, but maybe, you know, yeah. Yeah, I'll check into that.
So, yeah,
That's through.
I was gonna make a call and see,
No.
but I remember we've typically paid in the past.
That's for the MTA or the other one?
That was on the MTA
Okay.
treasurer's report.
Okay. Thank you.
And so we probably should start participating in the dues. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Lay?
So I attended the intergovernmental meeting today with Mr. Milky, Supervisor Milky and Mr. Nanny. Is that how you say your name? Okay. We represented Union Township. The meeting was also attended by Mayor Wingard. We have a new mayor of Mount Pleasant, which was kind of a surprise this morning. The previous mayor that was just elected stepped down and was replaced by the deputy mayor, and now they're going to appoint a new deputy mayor. The city supervisor, Aaron DeSantis, is that how you say it? Also,
DeSantis, I think.
DeSantis also represented the city, and then the county was represented by Chairman Engler and Mr. Smith over there. The mayor basically touched upon some of the capital investments the city's looking at for 2025. They're going to be redoing some parking lots, parking lot 4 and 5, and they're working on a new economic development plan for the city based on a 2024 study that was done. And they're also investigating why people are going to the Midland Mall. So that's interesting. They're making significant upgrades to their water infrastructure system, and they're working on a plan for internal development because a large portion of their workforce will be retiring over the next 5 to 10 years. That was the big. Oh, and then there's the shared pathway project for from Island Park to Mission Park on River Road. Or to River Road, has been pushed to 2026 because the state gave grant money to help pay for it. Did I remember that correctly?
Yes, it's Crawford.
Crawford,
It-
okay.
The township's responsibility is to get it to River, the Crawford and River, but it's along Crawford Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Brian gave a nice overview as to what was going on here with our policy governance training and a few other issues. Sidewalk by Red Lobster. Some internal, some infrastructure and industrial improvement corridors. That was from Mr. Nanny, by the 127 corridor. And then there was a extensive discussion about the airport expansion. They're working on some of the issues there, which would be funding and land acquisition. will be our major hurdles with lengthening the runway. There's a feasibility study being done. And the Target sidewalk gap was brought up. We're gonna have to look at that. Many of the things that were discussed by the county were already brought up in our discussion with Mr. Smith, largely the jail, the audit for the county's budget, the opioid settlement fund, which we did not touch upon, but they are setting up a committee to help with the distribution of funds from that. And then the building plans for whether or not they will reconstruct or rebuild was also addressed. And then we talked at length about the recycling and Heartland materials management system. There's a plan that they're putting together.
If I can jump in?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Only because that was the same meeting. The only thing I think you missed that I picked up on was the peak program.
Oh, I have that actually written down.
The Aaron DeSense the city manager did mention that they had sought out for some additional funding, and they've received that. They also did some, for lack of a better term, efficiencies on it. They were able to trim about $250,000 out of their annual budget, because the cost, I think they said it was $1,100 per student.
Yes.
And the
Oh,
money
my.
that they get in is about $250, something like that, per student. So it's a big cost to our community. Obviously, well worth it, I think.
It
Helps our
was-
families and our kids.
I think it was $500,000 initially, and they were able to trim out 230. There was a $230K deficit
Left.
left.
So it was good to hear some progress on that with Peak. I hope that is able to stay around.
Yes,
Have any report to give?
from my training.
Sure.
Oh, that was,
Whatever you feel is necessary.
that's right, we're going around the room. The training was very helpful, it was a good day. I had it on my schedule for 2 days, and I'm like, but it was a very good day, learned a lot, got a lot of good information, and looking forward to learning more.
Awesome. Trustee Therian?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to what Mr. Nanny had said. We did have a letter from the neighbor to the north of the Thrive Church. Had some concerns because the land is very saturated and wet. In fact, on the north side of the property, we'll say, of the Thrive Church, it is considered wetlands. They just wanted to, their concern was to not make it worse, and as a result, the architect got up and spoke, and if I understand him correctly, they brought in a wetland consultant and Eagle to determine where the wetland actually began so that they didn't infringe on that. And the building and the parking lot has all the water going to the correct area, not towards the wetland. That's how they have it designed. So there's still some more discussion about that. But that was just something I wanted to add.
Awesome. Clerk Cody? And I didn't have anything other than the meeting you just covered, and I added one thing too. I'll just ask you real quick, do you feel we missed anything in our coverage of the intergovernmental meeting?
No, I think it was complete.
Okay, yeah.
I was frantically typing the whole time.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda. Who had warrants?
I did.
I actually knew the answer to that one. Happy to entertain any motions regarding the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion by Therian, support by Cody. Any issues?
No, everything looked really good.
Are you feeling comfortable doing the warrants now?
I do.
Gotta get- it's under your belt?
It's so well organized that it's very easy to do.
Any comments?
She had good training.
Yes, I highly recommend going through the Brown training course on how to do warrants.
Right.
It's too expensive, I hear. I can't afford it.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments? On the motion for consent agenda, all in favor of approving consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved unanimously, and that brings us to our relatively light new business items, 11 on the agenda. Tonight, it's all policy governance. Policy governance 2.1, treatment of consumers. This is more the administration side. Would you like to introduce this?
Sure. So this report begins on page 28. As was said, this is a review of policy 2.1, treatment of consumers. It's an annual review that it's scheduled to be reviewed in January. You'll see in our report the policy is quoted, and if it's all right, I'll just go ahead and read through it. It starts at the top level. With respect to interactions with consumers or those applying to be consumers, the township management team shall not cause or allow conditions, procedures, or decisions that are unsafe, undignified, unclear, unprofessional, indirect, untimely, inaccurate, or unnecessarily intrusive. And then under that, there are 5 sub-policies that further limit the management team. And I'll just go through those. The first one is the management team shall not use application forms that elicit information for which there is no clear necessity. Number 2, the management shall not use methods of collecting, reviewing, transmitting, or storing client information that fail to protect against improper access to the material. Number 3, management shall not fail to establish with consumers a clear understanding of what may be expected and what may not be expected from the service offered. Number 4, the management shall not fail to inform consumers of this policy or provide a way for persons to be heard who believe they have not been accorded a reasonable interpretation of their protections under this policy. And then number 5, management shall not fail to post and keep a regular schedule of office hours so that citizens have reasonable opportunity to take care of township business. The township manager's interpretation of this policy is such that the Board of Trustees seeks to ensure application forms only elicit information that's necessary, and the information obtained will be appropriately protected from unauthorized access. Further, consumers, and I'll just note that word consumers is used deliberately in the policy. That it refers both to township residents, citizens, property owners, but also to others, as it notes there, those who may be applying to be consumers, whatever way that may be coming in to have some service and interaction with the township. That consumers can expect to have a clear understanding of the service to be provided, and that if unclear, a mechanism should exist to gain that complete understanding. And then finally, the regular office hours will be maintained to serve the public. As justification, the manager finds that this interpretation is reasonable in that a balance needs to exist when interacting with the public that ensures adequate information is obtained to service the public, and at the same time, as allowed by law, privacy is protected. And just note here, one of those elements that's allowed by law is that much of what we do is subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and we do regularly let people know that what they're providing is going to be public information, potentially available to that FOIA law. Further, access to township officials is required for the public to take care of their township business. And then, as part of supporting that interpretation and justification, we have some data points on page 29. I won't read through all of them. There's quite a bit there, but I do want to highlight a few. Partway down the page, it notes 2024 saw the start of implementing a complete website redesign to create a modern, responsive, interactive website and associated mobile application. We've been working with our contractor for that, Civic Clarity, and that process has been ongoing. Is actually coming closer to a conclusion. We're looking forward to seeing that new website become live, certainly in the first half of this new year. And a lot of the details are being worked on right now for that. And the intent of that site is to be more interactive and with more information that's, in terms of organization, information is even more easily found than our current site is. The note there about the water and sewer staff are on call and respond to customers' calls promptly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I even had that experience myself. After hours, I came upon one of our sewage pump stations in the East EDA that alarm was going off. And it was after 5. I called the after hours number and got an immediate response to that. So they were aware of the alarm. I'm sure they were already aware of the alarm, but I called nonetheless, and they promptly took care of it. Sensitive information, such as Social Security numbers, are managed per federal and state guidelines. Often those numbers are redacted in part where we must take them in. And then the other item I was going to mention here in the report is protection of customer information is enhanced through our IT efforts to protect the township servers, computers, and email from hacking and phishing attacks. Director Smith talked a bit about that in her presentation, and that is a constant, ongoing effort to maintain and secure our IT infrastructure. And very impressed with what we do. And how thorough that is at trying to make sure that's protected. The one that interestingly is not on this list that I would mention, I get to add something to it, is that this policy 2.1 is actually posted in full on the homepage of our website. It's under announcements. That's a permanent announcement. It stays there. So that everybody that accesses our website can see that, click on that, read the policy in full. And then actually right underneath that is a link to basically a comment, a fillable PDF comment form. It can be used for suggestions, comments, complaints, and it includes right on there our general email box so that people can fill it out and email it, or they can bring it into the township. It's just one of the ways that we provide for folks to be able to interact back to the township management team. So with that in mind, the management team, we believe, is in compliance with this policy.
We're good, thank you.
Question
All right.
on that. Do you ever, have you received any communication through the comments portion of the website?
We have, yes. Yep. Yep. And, it's interesting that forms are sometimes intimidating to people, even though if you try to make it as easy as possible. I've even had people tell me, oh, they saw the form and just called. So, but yes, we have.
Nice.
For those that you have, is it helpful, constructive information typically?
Well, there can be, some are complaints, and that's, of course, I'd say the easiest way to communicate with the township is you have a problem, you want it solved. One of the things that this form has on it is the ability to indicate a kind of subject area. One of our departments, it might be parks, it might be water or sewer, it might be a zoning issue or something else, so that we can aim that in the right direction. Our new website will expand that capacity significantly.
Good. All right, our director mentioned already this is submitted when due. Right?
Yes.
Yep.
And for new members, if it's not kind of clear, right, each month, the second part of the month, we kind of review our policies. There's an opportunity for us to improve upon those policies, make sure that we're following those policies. The interpretation, was it laid out?
Yes.
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 So this is a very important part, is to make sure that the manager's interpretation of our policy reflects what the policy of intent of the board is. Are there any issues regarding the manager's interpretation that should be mentioned? What is it? Fully cover the policy.
That's good.
That's fine.
Any concerns about compliance? Do you feel that the data there, what you know, that we're in compliance, or the organization's in compliance with this policy?
Yes.
I believe them fully compliant.
I would agree. Anything missing? Comments? If not, we're moving on.
No,
Okay.
that's good.
That brings us to item 11B, Policy Governance 2.5, Financial Conditions. We do get regular reports on our finances. Mr. Nanny, this is yours to introduce as well, if you don't mind.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this report starts on page 31. This is for policy, as was said, Policy 2.5, Financial Conditions and Activities. This is a quarterly review. We look at this 4 times a year. The first review is in January. The data that you'll see behind this is data as of December of 2024. I will note, with regards to the data you find there, that we are still processing some payments and invoices and such that will for 2024. So this is not final yet, but it's certainly getting close to final for the year. I'll start with reading the top line policy of this. The policy is pretty substantial, but at the top line it states, with respect to the actual ongoing financial condition and activities, the Township Management Team shall not cause or allow the development of fiscal jeopardy or a material deviation of actual expenditures from board priorities established in your ends policies. And under that, then there are 10 sub-policies. I'm not going to read those. They're all in the report, but I will note that all of them really have to do with ensuring that management team is paying attention both to our current financial condition, but also looking ahead at long term into the future for the maintain our financial condition. We do have interpretation for the manager here. The manager interprets this policy to indicate that there will be no expenditures made or incurred that will exceed the expenditures budgeted for that current year unless it is an emergency purchase as outlined in one of the sub-policies, 2.5.6. The manager shall also not make a single purchase or commitment unless it falls under 2.5.6 of greater than $20,000 or inform the board of purchases over $10,000 unless the purchase is for materials or services needed for normal operations of township facilities. Furthermore, all tax payments to other governmental entities, this is where the township is essentially acting as an agent, collecting taxes that are distributed else to the other taxing jurisdictions, that those tax payments are paid according to state statute. The payroll is paid biweekly, and accounts payable invoices are processed and ready for board approval as soon as they are received, verified, and coded for payment. As justification for this interpretation, the manager notes this is reasonable in that when the budget is approved by the Board of Trustees, it is left to the management team to operate within the guidelines established in that budget and to follow all state and federal statutes. The board is to function as a policy-making body, and the management team is to function as implementer of that policy, as indicated in the approved budget. We, as noted earlier, we have attached reports from the BSNA finance system that include the departmental revenues for the various departments, general fund, special revenue funds, and enterprise fund revenues and expenditure reports. Those are all available in the packet. Some of the data points are listed here. I just note that all expenditures do support the Global Ends policies, that we did not incur any new debts, acquire any new debts in the fourth quarter of 2024. There were no long-term general fund reserves have been used for several years. Payroll was paid timely. Payroll taxes and benefits were paid on schedule and on time. All purchases greater than $20,000 were approved by the Board of Trustees. No real property was acquired or disposed of without approval from the board. All receivables are pursued on a regular basis, and all funds have a reasonable amount of cash flow, which enables timely payment of payroll and bills. And so with that in mind, management believes that we are in compliance with the policy.
Any questions?
Question,
Yes.
just for clarification for me. In the top level sentence that Rodney read, the township management team shall not cause. Now, when we say township management team, who are we identifying?
as I remember, there was some confusion in the past on this in the policy governance, where it would reference the manager versus the management team. Last cycle, meaning last term, we tried to do some clarifications on that. And so where where it says management team, that would include the manager, the clerk, the treasurer, and the supervisor. Did we get all the spots? I can't say for sure that we did, but we were trying to clarify that boundary between the management team and the manager solely. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, with that definition you just gave, so does that look at the supervisor, treasurer, and clerk in their department head role responsibility? Or
Yes.
on the
Yes.
board?
Yes.
You said
I-
yes on both of them.
Yes on both. But
Yes on both.
I think the way I view it is more the department heads.
Yeah.
Because this
I-
role that we play here is a little different, right? I think of it more as the management team.
And I was thinking that too, as department heads, especially just how it falls under the section 2, which is what the manager usually addresses.
Correct.
And as department heads, you're subordinate to the manager in that position, so just still trying to clarify in my own mind what management team really refers to.
Yeah, I'm going to speculate, and the board's welcome to address this policy however they'd like, but how I interpreted it was, it is just as any trustee, our primary responsibility is fiduciary, that it's asking us to also, us meaning the management team, the clerk, the treasurer, supervisor, also be looking at all of these items through our activities. That's how I interpreted it.
Okay, great,
But,
thanks.
but ultimately, our CEO or boss in that case is the manager, right?
Correct.
In that particular role.
Okay, I was just hoping to understand that better.
This one was, any objections to this being late?
No.
I don't believe it is.
No.
The manager's interpretation, any concerns about that? Was it laid out properly, cover everything?
Yes.
Yes.
Any issues with the data? Do you feel like the data shows that we're in compliance? Are you aware of anything that you believe makes us not to be compliant?
No.
No.
How about the policy itself? Any issues with it?
No.
I will just lift up a change that was made last year, just for historical purposes. 2.5.7 and 2.5.6 were both adjusted. I do not remember the original numbers, but it basically puts emergency spending limits on the manager. So if we have like a water main break and there needs to be some expenditure to get that up, that would be considered emergency expenditure. Manager's responsible for taking care of that, but then also notifying the board of that expenditure. All other expenditures up to a certain limit can't be made without board approval. The rest, of course, are also obviously supposed to be budgeted for, right?
Right.
That was the intent of that, but we did double those limits last year, and they more in line with similar sized municipalities, we felt. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
This one's on us. 11C in the agenda, Board of Trustees Policy Governance 3.1, Governing Style. This is a pretty high-level policy. This is the beginning of our section of the policy governance. I'll just read it for public purposes. Board will govern with an emphasis on an outward vision rather than an internal preoccupation. Encouragement of diversity in viewpoints, strategic leadership more than administrative detail, clear distinction of board and chief executive roles, collective rather than individual decisions, future rather than past or present, and proactively rather than reactivity. And then the policy itself is on page 51. It's quite lengthy. I'm not going to read that. So if we look at ourselves on this, Gonna ask the question, is anybody believe we are not in strict compliance with this?
No.
No.
I'm gonna lift up one thing. See if I can find it again. Three point 1.6. It's the last one on, it's page 52. The last item says, the board will monitor and discuss the board's process and performance at each meeting. Technically, we do this the second meeting of every month. We don't do this at every meeting.
Right.
We're not intentional about it at every meeting. And I don't want to belabor on that, but I think if we chose to, we could maybe update that to match our calendar that we set out for review.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Would others be okay if we just mention monthly?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
how our
that's fine.
calendar's okay?
That makes it a little more accurate to
Yeah.
what really goes on.
Yeah, it is. Granted, this is technical detail, but
Right.
I felt we were not in compliance because we don't do this every meeting.
Right.
No.
Do we need a motion to make that effect change in our policy governance?
I don't think so.
Okay. Would you take note and see if we can have that modified and then
I wouldn't
brought
say,
back for approval?
so you wouldn't modify that first sentence, so it would say, the board will monitor and discuss the board's processes and performances at least monthly, is that the idea?
Perfect, at
Okay.
least monthly.
Okay.
Reasonable?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I just answered question 2. Everybody else said we were in compliance. Anything we need to improve upon? Anything missing? I'd like to ask that question. Anything missing? Anything incorrect in the policy? I do like, I mean, the idea of this is that we're a policy board, we're high level, we try not to get bogged down in the weeds. Let the professionals do their work and guide them through policy. And that's a lot of what this is speaking to. Right?
Yep.
Okay, so if there's no objections, we're good with this.
Good, I just mentioned that.
Sure.
I felt we were in compliance, and to demonstrate that, later this month, we're getting together for a off-night meeting to talk about policy governance. And then in May, there's a in-depth 2-day session that we're all welcome to go to.
Yes.
So it's a couple opportunities for us to assure we're have full understanding as best as possible of policy governance.
Yeah, for our new members, I think it's a great opportunity to actually kind of take that little book and we've been governing under it now for 3 meetings. Have the opportunity to actually get more educated on it, and hopefully we can continue to be effectual in making it better.
Yes.
So moving on then, extended public comment, which is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address
Yeah,
for the
reason.
record. And with that, we'll open up extended public comment at 8:58 PM.
Ryan Smith, 2284 Sandstone Drive. Just a couple things I want to point out, and thank you for bringing up the opioid settlement. As you know, counties and municipalities were awarded opioid funding through a lawsuit. What we're doing is we're setting up a committee that's going to advise the Board of Commissioners on how to distribute the funds. So it's going to be a committee that's going to set up, that is going to have experts in the industry on how the money should best be spent. And what we're looking for is not spending the principal, but just spending the earnings and the interest and whatever we can get on top of that. So we got a long-term sustainable funding source for that. So that's coming out. So we're devising the board plan for that. And then when the board gets actually established and appointed, then they will come up with their internal matrices and scoring and everything that needs to be done, because they're the professionals. They need to know and decide how is the best way to spend the money. And so then they will be making recommendations to the Board of Commissioners on how to distribute those funds. So it's kind of an exciting thing, and I think it's a great way of doing it, rather than just throwing it into a a general fund or spending it all in a year or two, and then you have nothing sustainable on that. So that's one thing that we're looking at. I'm very excited to get moving on that one. And secondly, just so everybody is aware, we are at the MRF, we're not going to be open Saturdays during the winter season. Felt that it was not cost effective to have it open and have somebody there when the main reason was to take yard waste, and obviously there's no yard waste really being generated, so it wasn't doing much purpose of to save a little bit of money. We're closed January 31st this year to April 1st. The next year we're looking at November 15th to April 1st. And there are other recycling depots within Township, the Commission on Aging. You have curbside and everything else, so we don't feel that it's going to impact people's ability to recycle. It's just we're looking at kind of right-sizing the operations. So I just wanted to bring those two matters up. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's nobody online.
All right, thank you. Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll close public comment, or extended public comment at 9 p.m. Final board member comment, Clerk Cody?
No, we
Oh,
trust him.
I'm sorry, I missed you, didn't I? I skipped 13.
I may be the acting manager.
Yeah,
but-
I appreciate you stopping me. Item 13 on the agenda, manager's comments. Floor is yours.
The only thing I'll say is I have appreciated the chance to serve as acting township manager. This cycle that we work with under the policy governance has been beneficial for me. I know it's been beneficial for the other members of the executive team as well. So I just want to thank you for the chance to serve in this role for you tonight, and I appreciate your support as well for the management team and all that we do. And that's all I have. Just want to say thanks.
Thanks. Thanks for catching me.
Thank you.
That brings us to 14, final board member comment. I'm sorry, do you have any questions for acting manager? Okay. Clerk Cody. Trustee Therian.
Two things. One, could I get a copy of your presentation? Next meeting would be fine. It was nice to have a copy of Sherry's presentation, and I think it would be nice to have one of yours as well. I thought it was very well done, so thank you. Could I have a paper copy?
Let me make sure I didn't scribble.
Yeah. The other thing I have is I'm just looking through my governance policy portion of my policy book. I'm noticing on several pages where I have written in certain things that we've made changes, and I'm thinking, well, I'm knowing that the changes were made, but I'm looking at an old page, and maybe I did not write things down that we have changed. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't be worth getting a kind of like an updated copy of that, because this is going on this 5th year.
In fact, it might be nice to have at our meeting next week.
Yeah.
I often download the policy governance because of the updates to it. Last I checked, I think the website had it in June of 24, I think.
That sounds about
Yeah,
right.
and we've made at least a change or two since then.
And I know there was a point in time where like we made a change and we actually got a sheet of paper to pull out and put in. But I know we've made several changes, little things here and there. Then I'm pretty sure I don't have them all. So as I'm reviewing it, I like to look at my book. I mean, I do look at the minutes, but I like to look at my book. I just think it's a good idea to keep that thing open. And so I'm pretty confident that some of that stuff I did not do a very good job of writing things in, so.
For the new members, you were given an onboarding book, so it probably has a pretty current one.
Yep.
For older members, besides Trustee Therian, because you spoke, it would be helpful to have an updated copy for your books, or are you good with the electronic?
I'm good with electronic.
I would like a copy.
Okay. Let's see if we can't get you one. Would you be willing to take a note of that?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
I'm all set tonight, thank you.
Trustee Lannon?
I just wanted to mention how I really enjoyed the department presentations.
Yeah.
The work that went in was obvious that the department heads understand their departments well, but to me it's enlightening just to see what goes on. And so, thank you for doing that, you guys.
Trustee Lay?
I want to thank you both for coming in tonight. It was a great presentation. Very excited about Public Works.
Wait till you get the tour.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's like Magic School Bus.
It is, we do take a bus usually.
Sweet. Thank you very much.
Treasurer Rogers?
I'm all set.
I've got just a couple things. I meant to lift this up when we were going through the financial conditions, just because I have to look at it every time. But where the books are today, I realize 24 is not closed entirely yet, but the earned interest actually exceeded our 1 mil property tax income. That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
Okay, the Isabella County Road Commission joint meeting, I know a doodle poll came out. I wasn't able to respond to that because I was dealing with I was out. So all the times I saw mostly worked for me, so that you know that. But we don't have a time and date set yet for that,
Yeah,
do
we
we?
do.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do?
Yes.
I missed that somehow.
It's on Thursday of next week
Oh, boy.
at 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Was an invite sent out to us?
Mhm.
Okay,
I
I will.
thought that you accepted it too.
I had a crazy week, and I wasn't quite following it all today, so I'll go back and check on that. And next Wednesday, then we also have the policy governance training. Just a reminder, that's at Jamison Hall, right? Not Township Hall. And then the only other thing I'll lift up, and this came up in our intergovernmental meeting today, because I had talked about policy governance and the training that we were going to go through, and the mayor expressed interest in learning more about that. And so I've offered to share some materials. I was hoping we might have an extra book that I can loan them. But the city at least was expressing some interest in looking at not our policy governance, but policy governance and how it operates, and if there are tools there that they might want to implement. And with that, Happy New Year
Yes.
again. Happy to entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Cody, motion by Cody, support, I think, by everybody else. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Who was this?
We are
was it?
adjourned.
Who was it?
Who was it?